Call the meeting to order. All right, let's have a roll call, please. Jerry?
Sure. Commissioner Blaylock,
Here.
Commissioner Dat,
Hey, you're right.
Commissioner Greditor,
Here.
Commissioner Levin,
Here.
Commissioner Rothbard,
Here.
Chairman Brightcoff.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And as Bruce mentioned, Jay Dat is our new Plan Commissioner. Welcome, Jay. We look forward to working with
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you very much. I just want to give a quick preemptive apology. My 5-year-old and 4-year-old are still awake for about maybe another 10 minutes. So there may be, hopefully there won't be, but there may be an interruption in the next 10 minutes. So sorry in advance.
As long as they're sworn in, I think everything would be fine.
That's right. We'll give them the oath and then we'll be all fine.
When we're back in person, I promise I won't bring them to any meetings.
All right, I think we can turn to the approval of the October 1st, 2020 minutes. Everybody should have gotten a copy of the revised draft minutes. Are there any questions or comments on the draft minutes?
Well, I saw one small thing. Let me just see. It was a little clerical thing. I don't remember what it was, and I didn't mark it. So not noteworthy. It's not anything significant.
Okay, if you find it, you can just
Yeah.
let us know. Does anybody else have any comments? Do not see any hands or nods. So I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as drafted.
So moved.
So, second.
And we
All
need a
in
roll call.
favor?
We need a roll call vote, unfortunately, because under the new rules.
Right, so Jerry, would you please do a roll call for the approval of the minutes?
Mr. Blaylock,
Aye.
Mr. Dat,
Aye.
Ms. Greditor,
Aye.
Mr. Levin,
Aye.
Mr. Rothbard,
Aye.
Chairman Brightcoff.
Aye. Hey, the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the Plan Commission?
Daphne, this would be where if there's anybody, and Dr. Gore, I see you. This would be if there's anybody who wants to address the Plan Commission on something other than the agenda matter, because when we get to the agenda matter, we'll ask again.
There's nothing in the inbox.
Okay.
I have something for the agenda matter, so I'll just wait.
We will remember. Don't go away.
Are there any other visitors wishing to address the Plan Commission on matters other than the hearing item? Do not see any hands or nods. So we have no old business, so we will turn to the new business, which is a public hearing for Discover Properties to consider a map amendment for the Kings Kennel parcel to rezone from R1 to O&R Office and Research 1, District 1, and B, an amendment to the large office campus special use permit previously granted by ordinance number 1-8-24 adopted in 2001 as amended to incorporate Kings Kennel parcel as part of the Discover Financial Campus with modifications to the site plan. So Bruce, how would you like to proceed? Do you want to make some comments first, or do you want to get straight into witnesses, or what would you like to do?
Let me just make a few introductory comments. First of all, just procedurally, we're holding the hearing tonight by remote or electronic attendance as authorized by recent amendments to the Illinois Open Meetings Act. We do have the village clerk at the village hall who's hosting the meeting for us through the Zoom platform. We do have an address, an email address for taking comments from the public It's on our agenda. It's been posted at the Village Hall. I think also on the village website. So that's procedurally how we are tonight. I would like to have the people from Discover just maybe raise their hands and just quickly introduce yourself so the Plan Commission knows who is here for Discover. Okay, that's Dan Shapiro. He's their counsel.
I'm Terry Kuresh. I'm in-house counsel for Discover.
Okay. Who
Yeah.
else?
With the real estate group is here as well, and Pete Kennedy with the real estate group is here as
Okay.
well. You can find out your hand function.
And I don't have my camera on because I'm presenting and I don't want to mess up anything that's already on my screen. So I apologize.
No problem. That's Pete Kennedy. He's probably going to be the one to take us through the various drawings. And John Brown, I see you're here from V3.
Yes, John Brown with V3 with the civil engineers and surveyors.
Okay. Jerry, did you get the names well enough for purposes of the minutes?
If I could get Ms. Kuresk's first name?
First name?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. First name is Terry, T-E-R-I.
Okay, and John's last name?
H-A-A-S.
Thank you.
Sure. And my
Jerry had
last
asked me
name
to make
is-
sure so she would know who's talking when she's recording the minutes.
I don't blame her.
So she knows who's talking. To back up for a second, we did mail notices out to surrounding property owners within a 300-foot radius of the Discover campus and the Kings Kennel parcel. We also had a sign put on the property announcing the hearing in keeping with the village requirements. And we published notice of tonight's hearing in the Deerfield Review. And in the notice, we included the same meeting ID information that you used in order to access the Zoom website with us tonight. So the village has done what we could to provide all the appropriate notices to have this hearing tonight. When you have a hearing on amending the zoning or granting a special use, our own village zoning ordinance and state law require certain kinds of notices, which we have done our best to comply with, especially given the circumstances. The last thing is that when people give testimony in a zoning matter, they're required to give so under oath. This is a bit difficult, but if you ask a question or you have a comment, you're not providing testimony. Testimony would be, for example, when Pete Kennedy gives us an explanation of their exhibits and asks for requests of relief, or if anyone else from Discover is going to comment. So, Lori, if it's okay with you, I would ask that anybody from Discover who's providing testimony, if you would, you don't have to stand up, but if you would raise your right hand and take this oath, it would help us comply with law. I, put in your name after that, and repeat after me.
I, John Brown,
John Haas.
I, Pete Kennedy.
Do solemnly affirm that the testimony I give to the Plan Commission tonight will be truthful and complete. Do you all agree to that?
Yes.
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 Thank you. You're taking care of that then. So the last thing is just a little more housekeeping for the rest of the Plan Commission to make sure we sent out all the exhibits that Discover had provided to us. Along with those exhibits was a staff memo that we prepared giving you some of the background of the Discover campus special use, how it occurred back in 2001. We also provided you with a copy of the special use ordinance, so I believe you have that. All special uses, just as a reminder for the Plan Commission, have a series of required findings that we'll be looking to make at the conclusion after the hearing is adjourned. The Plan Commission discusses the findings, decides whether it's been satisfied, and votes on making a recommendation to the village board. The Plan Commission is just an advisory body. What we do is advisory to the village board. Since those exhibits came in, we were trying to get comments on a couple of the exhibits, one of which was some landscaping around the detention basin. So only about an hour ago, I was able to send out to you comments that our village ecologist had on the landscaping. There was just one sheet of detail about the type of plants and the seed mix that Discover had provided. We finally had Steve Zimmerman had a chance to look at it. So you should have that now. That'll be included in the packet. And somewhere between the original submission and the landscape data, there was a list of all the exhibits from Discover that I think we also circulated, which provides you an overview of all of the documents you have. So that gives you the background, the process, how we're here. And I think now we'll turn it over to Discover to let them make their presentation. Dan, are you going to be the one
Yeah, I'll
starting off?
jump in here. Yes. Thanks, Bruce. Again, my name is Dan Shapiro. It's nice you can see it in the box too, in case you forget. And I represent Discover in this matter. We appreciate all of you being here. And for those of you who are new, welcome. We will be happy to take questions at any time if you need us to answer anything. But as Bruce said, the purpose of our request tonight is to seek a rezoning of what's been referred to as King Kennel's parcel, about 3.8 acres, and add that as part of the Discover campus as a special use. You all are familiar, I think, with the history of Discover. It came in many years ago. It's been used primarily, as the campus for Discover purposes, offices, etc. So through the exhibits that you'll see or that you have reviewed, you'll see how this kind of just blends in. And what this is a either parking lot or parking structure. The reason for that is to offer Discover greater flexibility and greater parking as they go forward with their campus. So you will see by looking at the exhibits, especially at least for me, the 3D exhibits, which were super helpful, how from a 3D perspective that works in. The rezoning is from residential to office research. And one of the elements that we can talk about is how it is consistent with the surrounding area. So we will discuss that, but you will see that most of the surrounding area is in fact Discover. There are some commercial uses and primarily office uses in the area as well. The other things that you will look at or that you have looked at include two different site plans, one showing surface parking and one showing a structured parking. We're offering these kind of as alternatives. They take up the same impervious footprint, but we're offering these as alternatives basically to ask for both approvals because we're not quite sure how the market's going to be responding and the extent to which these needs will come forward in the future. So we're asking for that. The landscape plans, the staff reports, et cetera, I believe addressed both of these as alternatives. Lastly, I believe in the packet that you have our proposed, our answers to the special use standards as well as rezoning standards. They kind of speak for themselves, but we'll be able to talk to you about those or answer any questions you may have about those as we go forth this evening. So I'd like to now hand it over to John. Are you going to be walking through the site plans, or Pete, are you going to be doing that?
I have the site plans. John, did you want to say anything, or
Sure.
did we cover it?
Yeah, I'll kick it off with a brief introduction and overview, and then Pete, if you can pull up the specific plans, that would be great. So my name is John Haas. I lead our real estate design and construction group. I'm joined tonight by Pete Kennedy, one of our senior project managers, and Terry Kurush from our legal department. Along with Dan, we've all been working on this endeavor for a little bit of time now. In terms of, there are some general things that I think we'd like to highlight from the submission that was the application that was submitted to the committee. Number one, ingress and egress. We are, as Dan alluded to, we're looking at two options: a 985 space parking deck or a 263 space surface parking lot. Both options would have primary ingress from our existing campus drive inside of our Discover campus. So we're not looking to modify or change any of the ingress egress to campus via this new parking lot. The Saunders Road entrance, which was previously for Kings Kennel, would be an egress only exit. We have, through our submission, I think you'll see we've paid careful consideration to the other surrounding businesses and treated the landscaping, retention pond, and other setbacks to those businesses to provide a similar sort of shielding that currently exists for those businesses. They all have parking lots. We've tried to provide a visual barrier, which Pete and John Brown will show you as we look through the plans, and they will discuss in a little bit deeper detail the landscaping and berming. As I said, we have two different concepts, one which is a parking lot concept and one which is a structured concept. We can certainly address any questions. Discover has not decided which one of those concepts it would be moving forward with. Some of this has been interrupted by COVID, and our initial plans will probably take some reevaluation as we move forward to determine which path we will move down. But we would like to seek approval for both of those plans so we could pursue either path when COVID is eventually over. We have also paid particular respect to the stormwater management and complied with the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance in our conceptual plan to make sure that we're providing adequate stormwater retention. And with that, I will turn over to Pete and John to share a virtual view of the plans so we can have a conceptual walkthrough and answer any questions that might exist around both concepts.
Thanks, John. It's asking that this host gives me permission to share my screen, just so you guys know I can't do it until the
Daphne, you need to allow Pete to share the screen so we can see these exhibits. Otherwise, we're not seeing a lot.
Is there any way you can walk me through how to do that? One participant can share at a time.
Well, let's see here.
Pete, if you hit the green, or it's not letting.
Yeah, it's just host disabled participant screen sharing, so they have to do something on that side.
Does that work now?
Let me try. No. Are you able to, is there a ball or something that is able to pass on your screen? Normally there's something that would allow you to pass to the presenter.
Okay, I'm going to click all participants can share.
Okay. Okay, we're good now. That
Okay,
worked.
perfect.
That worked.
Thank you, Daphne.
So as John mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the conceptual plans and high-level areas in which we're looking to do either a surface lot or structured parking. Can everybody see my screen, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, so the first exhibit that you'll see is the surface lot parking. And as you can notice, and to what John was referring to, this is the basic plan of the surface lot for 263 spaces. It does show our entrance and ingress to our space as you come into our property at Discover Way. This is obviously the Saunders East entrance, and as John mentioned, would be only for emergency or exit egress only. So you would not have anybody coming in off of the Saunders Road entrance as they do today. We do plan on keeping a gate there. I believe there's a gate there currently. We will keep that and obviously make a new one, put a new one there to make sure that there's something visual there, knowing that there will not be an entrance. We also, to Bruce's point, late in the day, we were able to get through and send over the landscaping model with the specific species. But in this reflects the general layout of what we would try to do to keep, obviously, as John mentioned, consideration to the other surrounding businesses that are to the northeast of us as well. So as you can see, that berm there, there's a lot of trees. There are a lot of trees there currently, but obviously there's some spaces where we would fill in and do what we need to do. And I know, Bruce, you sent an email later in the day saying you'd like for us to use the specific species and seeds that we would. So once we finalize the plan, once we get closer to those dates, obviously we would look for that and incorporate that into the plan if need be. As well, you can see the setbacks and the retention, the stormwater management is located on this side as well. And I'll let V3 comment to that after we get through these. And if there's any questions, we can walk through that specifically to that. But that is the overall plan of the surface lot. It does extend, obviously, towards the east, but not too far off. We did try to get it as close to our property line as it currently can be, to give that space that we need to get that stormwater retention in, as well as plant the buffer for us. I'll go ahead and move on to the structure portion, and then we'll go ahead. Not too much of a difference. Obviously, you have a smaller footprint because we're going up, but same thing. This one shows the road, the path you can see in the road from Saunders again will be egress only. Still our main entrance coming in to the space. This shows typical to what are very similar to what we have today in our structured parking garage, where you come in and you have that center lane to get in and move throughout. It is approximately, I believe it was 32 feet from ground to the top deck, not including the lights and everything else, but to that top deck, it was about 32 feet, I think we had mentioned previously. Same thing with the surrounding landscape to keep in consideration of the businesses there, and stormwater in the same position. The fun part where Dan had alluded to was the 3D, and I think this is what gives everybody a better perspective on what we're trying to do and what we're keeping and taking into consideration from surrounding. I do want to apologize ahead of time. Some of the Google Earth things don't disappear, so when you see those trees that are on top of the structure, that we're not putting anything greenery up there. It's just something that stays within the Google Earth. It looks cool, but we're not doing anything like that on the top of the garage, so please keep that in mind. But what it does is give you a good representation of what you would see. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not going higher than any of the other surrounding buildings that we have or structures that we have. We are making sure that we are taking into consideration, again, that property line and what you're going to be seeing. This is a northeast view. I'll give you a southeast view of that as well. So again, apologize for the broccoli on top of the garage, but we're doing the best we can with Google. And again, it gives you an overall view of what we're trying to do when it comes to the structure side. I think, again, when you look at the wellness center that's there, holistic center, we don't show it there, but obviously along that line is where we would add that vegetation and the trees and anything that we need to. And again, if you look, this is what is there today on the for the tree side. So we fill in, and we know that there will be some need to do those things that we, to keep that private. I'll give you one other view just from the south, just so we have it. But again, same thing. I think these are they were more impactful for me. Everybody can look at a plain view of everything and say, oh, it looks great. But I think when you get this view of it from above, it kind of puts everything in perspective and not as much of an eyesore if you think about it, you know, in this view, and you can see how everything lays out in this plan. Those are the exhibits that I had to run through on my side. Do we want to go into anything directly with V3 that you guys have questions about to answer, or did you want to go back to any of the exhibits to look at?
Would this be a time, let me ask you, I know, Dan, you probably want to at some point go back and answer questions about standards, but maybe this would be an opportunity, Lori, to allow the plan commissioners to ask questions.
Okay. Plan commissioners, Sherry?
Yeah, I was reading your answer to the reasons why this is not violating your responses. And it states specifically that the curb cut that accesses the kennels right now would be used only as an emergency exit or entrance for emergency vehicles only. It does not state in anywhere that I've read that it would be the exit from your parking area. When did that change?
I
mean, I can read it for you if you'd like. It's in front of me.
No, I wrote it. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
As I just heard Pete, as I heard him, I thought he said that would be for egress only, for emergency and for emergency.
That's not what he
use.
said.
Okay, Pete, you want to clarify that then?
That is, I'm sorry, I apologize. I did, if I misspoke, I did mean that it would be for emergency vehicles only, correct?
That's much better because you have an egress light and that's great, but I can see cars stacking up at that entrance and I wouldn't like to see that happen.
Yeah, and we did take, we did take that in consideration. There's no light there currently. That is a problem. Obviously, when we come into Discovery even, people stop short there and it does get, at some points, dangerous. So that was our main purpose of having that as an emergency only.
Yeah, I like that a whole lot better. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention and for that clarification.
Yeah, my apologies if I misspoke on that. I thought I did say emergency.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
I'm a newbie here. This is just kind of a benign question, but Pete, I think you mentioned 32-foot height on the structure. If you guys did decide to pursue that, on your rendering and on the plans, I didn't see that you had put lights. Would that be part of the plan to add like pole lights?
Yes, yeah. So the plan for that would be the lights. We did extensive research to make sure that we were actually having the light towards the middle of the structure. So as we have one currently there, we would try to mimic that so that the light actually doesn't go out and into the other surrounding areas, more contained into at the structure. So we've looked at that with our designers on that, and we've have a few options, but again, because we're so early in this, we haven't designed that part of it yet, but we do have options for lighting for sure.
So you definitely plan on doing lighting, and you'll just do a photometric to make sure there's no light spill outside of the structure.
Correct. Yeah, and they've started that. Just so you know, we brought this up when we were going to do the expansion of the existing garage, and that's actually where it came from. So we've taken into consideration that as well for this new structure.
And if I could clarify, Pete, would that be submitted with final?
It would.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other plan commission questions? I do have one. It's about the landscaping. Do I understand that we have, since an hour or two ago, received a list that specifies the species that will be planted?
There was a list that was their proposed list, and the village ecologist, Steve Zimmerman, looked at it and said certain things they should take off, and he highlighted the ones he rather them concentrate on. And he had one question which we probably should pursue, which is that he saw the seed mix for the bottom of the stormwater basin. He didn't think it would flourish if the basin is designed to hold water on a frequent basis or continually. So I guess I would ask maybe V3 to, if they want to comment on that. And generally speaking, when the Plan Commission makes a recommendation like this, it would be normal for us to include conditions to comply with the lighting policies and standards we've incorporated elsewhere on the campus. And that's part of the reason it's being proposed as an extension of the campus. And we do require shielding of lights and things like that elsewhere on the campus. And with respect to landscaping, another condition could, of course, be that they adhere to their recommendations of the village ecologist. And you guys can speak to whether that you have any issue with that. But just on the issue of what is the nature of the stormwater management basin in terms of how it's supposed to function, it might be helpful to have a little bit more information on that.
Can you jump in here?
Yeah, so yeah, this is John Brown with V3. We're the civil engineers on the project, and just a little bit in terms of the stormwater management basin itself. It is proposed to be a naturalized planted basin with a kind of a native side slopes and bottom. The seed mix that was specified, we obviously would work with the village to modify it as needed, but it is what they call a wet mesic prairie seed mix, which is frequently used for detention basins. And there's a lot of different tweaks that can be made to that to make sure that bottom does thrive and flourish. But I mean, essentially, this detention area is going to provide and meet all the requirements of the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance in terms of detention. It's going to provide, somewhere around, we have around 1.8 acres of water detention. Ultimately, this whole property today drains from east to west towards Discover and into Discover's stormwater management system. So this proposed stormwater management basin, would essentially follow that same drainage pattern that really complies with what's happening out there today. There's really no detention today, so the detention we're showing would be added, to the property to comply with the stormwater ordinances.
You would be capturing more of the water than is captured today, retaining it and controlling its release towards the west to Discover's existing system.
That's correct. Yes.
Are there any other questions from plan commissioners? Are there any questions from the audience? Jerry, did you have a question?
I do. I have a couple of questions. I had a few questions I wanted to ask, but I guess the first one that came up is the 3D picture. I don't believe I saw the 3D picture of the plan that doesn't have the structure, but instead has the parking, which extends almost to Sanders Road. Do you think we could take a quick look at that if you have it?
So there's no rendering for that since it's surface lot. It's flat. It doesn't show anything. So this was just to give you a visual of the actual structure. So I apologize for that. There wasn't a way to overlay that into the plan.
Okay, so then just from looking at this picture that we have in front of us, I see the emergency exit, the exit road there. So all the parking would be underneath that, extending to Sanders Road. It would be south of it. Yeah, right there, right where you got your cursor right there. Is that correct?
Could you pull up the drawing, John, of the, or Pete, of the, I think it's your surface exhibit. There you go.
Yep, pulling up right now.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I wanted to look at.
So can you say that again? You're talking about for the main entrance?
No, I think what he was saying, Pete, is that the drive aisle for the surface parking goes through the middle of the parking spaces, Jerry.
Correct.
I see.
So yeah, I'm sorry. So this is the exit or emergency into the parking not the structure, the surface lot. Correct.
And those are cars parked on both sides of that. Right.
Those lanes, yes.
I'm trying to get an idea of how close it is to us. Right now, I know the kennel's driveway. So it looks like you've curved the driveway a little bit.
Yeah, instead of making it go straight, so it actually doesn't. So right now it runs off. We didn't create a new opening. It comes in and curves down towards closer to our property line currently, instead of going straight through.
So the cars would actually be parked in that green field out there, right next to the long string of bushes that you have out there. I'm just trying to visualize that myself.
Yeah. So currently, I think if you come in, this is the property you're in question, right there. So you have the long drive, then you have the house that believe the resident sits there. Then you have the open field. So that would be where we would tie in. So right now, I think from here to maybe right here where that house is just open.
Okay. So now I have a few questions here. Regarding the zoning change that you're asking for, would that affect us at all? Or how would it affect us, if any, anyway?
As proposed, it would not affect you at all. It's just for these 3.6 acres that would be rezoned from R1 to office research.
So office research next to us really doesn't affect us at all, you're saying?
Well, the rezoning would be just only for the 3.6 acres. How I'm not quite sure if I understand how it would affect you or the intent of your question. If you're asking like, would there be some sort of adverse effect on property values or something like that?
No. Actually, it's an ignorant question. I just not used to it.
So yeah, I'm sorry. So it would only be rezoned for the property that's going to be purchased, properties under contract, and it would only be for the King's Kettle would be the rezoning.
Okay. Now, another question I had is if there is some damage to our property, God forbid, for something you guys in your construction, is there some place in a contract where you would come and fix it?
Here's what I'm going to just jump in here. Here's what I think would happen. If there was damage, you would call the village and you would talk to the village administrator or Bruce, and they would call us and say, hey, what are you guys doing? We have a neighbor, we have a property owner who's not too happy because you dug up his front yard or something like that. Take care of it. And we would take care of it.
One of our lights fell down or something. Okay. All right. So then I want to ask you here, will access to our property be protected? Access to our property.
I don't know that there would be any. Well, may I call you Jerry?
Yeah, sure.
So Jerry, are you like thinking about some fencing or what are you thinking about?
When there's construction starting, sometimes big heavy tractors will pull into one place. Oh, we made a mistake. Come back out, things like that.
Well, I can't say that mistakes never happen, but
maybe a sign or some kind of construction.
And Dan, if I can jump in real quick.
It would be fenced accordingly, but sure, Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, let me jump in just real quick. So we are very conscious of our surroundings. Obviously, when we're doing stuff, even on our own property, we do have flaggers. We do make sure that our general contractors are aware of the situations. And we do, on a normal basis, make sure that we put up the proper signage and we direct the traffic. So I can say and reassure you all I want. And again, when things come to life and we start to do things, we'll pay extra attention to that, obviously, since it is close. But we'll do the best best job we can to make sure that we are coordinate off and make sure that our debris and everything tends to stay in that area. But we do a good job with our general contractors to make them aware of the surroundings. So I hope that would give you a little bit of reassurance. But again, once things start to take effect and be live, we can make a better effort at it to show you.
So
And
that
Jerry, if there's ever a problem, you just tell one of the guys.
Yeah, I
but
need,
they
I
do-
need, will I have contact information for someone in your company, or will I have to go through the village?
Can I interject something here? I'm Russ Craley. I'm the Relation Community Development. If you would, I worked with you before, Jerry, when you
Yeah,
did
hi, Russ.
stuff. Yeah. So if you have a problem, just give me a call, leave a message. I'll take care of it from the village's end. But number two, when they're starting construction for this project, usually they have to put a silt fence around the perimeter. And that silt fence is a barrier there. So if they do that, then you'll see exactly where the construction is starting and what's going on there. And that silt fence shouldn't be damaged or touched in any way. So that's going to help protect your property.
Yeah, it'll be very visible, Mr. Gore. It'll be very visible, and again, we'll do our due diligence on it and make sure that we have the right signage and people present to direct traffic when this does start.
And then one more question, will the visibility of our property and sign be maintained? We're kind of a, small, we're going to be a small David next to Goliath. Kind of thing. I just want to make sure people will still see our sign and our entrance, It doesn't sound like we're going to do anything that would hurt it, but I just wanted to ask.
There will be no disturbance to your sign or your entrance.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate answering those questions.
Are there any other questions from the visitors?
I have a couple questions. Michael Schneider.
Okay.
So basically, this is if I'm understanding it, this is a change of use. Is that correct or not correct? Correct for what you're proposing?
This is a change of use.
So that's what I thought. So now it's residential of over 3 acres, and they're basically asking to change it to a different use. Okay. Another question I have is that where the 263 parking spaces, where are the employees parking now?
They're parking throughout the rest of the campus.
So why do they need 200? Why do they need more parking spaces? Or is this a plan for something else down the road?
I can at least answer part of that. The parking on the Discover campus is regulated by the special use ordinance. And one of the results of including this parcel within the ambit of the special use ordinance is that any future use of this parcel has to conform with the site plan and the drawings that they're presenting tonight. Otherwise, the applicant has to come back before the Plan Commission and the Village Board to have an amendment to the special use. So this property, by being included in the Discover campus in this manner, will be subject to all the regulation that the village currently has over the entire campus, which is substantial.
Another question I have is, if I'm understanding your proposal, off of Saunders Road, there will not be entrance or exit. Is that correct? Exit emergency only.
Only exit for emergencies. That's correct.
So if the people who are, if the cars that are on there now, it looks like what I'm saying is this is for future expansion for Discover, for more employees to park, because they're parking somewhere now on the property. And if that is the case, then there can be more cars coming in one entrance, which is going to all be lined up on Lake Cook Road.
Oh, can I just answer that real quick? As not shown on this plan, we recently redid our entrance at Saunders as part of an overall exterior project in the past year. We did actually take in consideration, we had to turn around because a lot of times visitors come in that space. We did an extra cut through so that if people are stuck, and that's generally what causes the backup there, is people that don't have a badge or not employees come in that entrance and then they don't have a way to turn around. So we added another turnaround in that space as well. We put in new readers that will read a badge from a further distance away and automatically open up the gates to allow traffic to continue to come in at a faster pace. So we've taken into consideration all of that, and again, we just recently completed that project. So we can't test it obviously with COVID and not everybody being on campus, but the times that I've been there and the times that we've had it, it's worked. It's been functioning as we were hoping. So again, to that point, we have taken that into consideration and thought it through it thoroughly.
Well, are you proposing to have entrance and exit or not off of Sanders? I mean,
Only at our main entrance right now. Currently, is there a main entrance and exit?
so that's a no.
No, they're retaining the existing, this plan doesn't show a change to the existing entrance off Saunders.
Correct.
It's just not shown on this drawing.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I thought that's what you said, but I didn't know if it's going to be approved on that. Okay, but it is a change of zoning where previously homes would have been built.
It is a change in zoning, and that's part of our request. That's correct. Because of the existing residential, which is zoned as residential.
It was residential special use before, correct?
Yep.
So it wasn't residential.
I just wanted to make that clear to others who are involved in this as well. I don't have any other questions at this time.
Mr. Hoover, may I ask a question?
With the chair's permission.
Yes, go ahead, Todd.
I'm Todd DeStigter. I live on Shadow Creek Lane in the Thorngate complex.
Uh-huh.
And, I've reviewed all the materials pretty carefully. And to be honest with you, this doesn't seem like it would be a huge inconvenience for those of us who live in Thorngate, or that it would compromise our property values in any way. But I guess my question is that, we're talking about, rezoning a section, and, I guess my question is, can you talk specifically about what the benefit would be to residents of the village of Riverwoods for granting this particular, request?
I think I would let the applicants answer that first.
That's a great question, and part of the answer is the standards that we have to show as part of a special use and rezoning. So with any application that seeks a special use and rezoning, there are certain things that we have to address for the Plan Commission in order to get a positive recommendation and ultimately approval by the village board. So those standards, and I'm happy to talk about them, but they were in our materials. Those standards address what the benefit would be, the convenience, et cetera, for folks at the campus. It also addresses the fact that we're going to be improving the stormwater. Also, the fact that because the way it's designed, the landscaping that we've talked about, et cetera, and its location, there is no adverse effect. There would be no adverse effect on the nearby property values. And also the fact that because there are surrounding commercial and office uses, it's not as though this residential use is surrounded by other residential uses. There are other commercial or office uses. The position that we have is that it makes sense. And for all those reasons, it's public benefit. It will ultimately benefit the public because it will certainly serves Discover, but it'll serve the greater good to allow for this redevelopment to occur. So
How so? I understand how you've explained to me how it won't, obviously and egregiously negatively affect the people who live around this, but how will
Right.
it benefit us to do this?
Well-
We would be giving you something. How would it benefit the residents of Riverwoods?
I don't know that you're giving us anything. I look at it a different way. It's certainly it's a request, and within the parameters of the request are responses. One of the responses, or none of the responses rather, say it's got to be a direct benefit to Todd. But because I would say
I'm not, pardon me for interrupting, but I'm not asking for a direct benefit to Todd. I am asking the question communally. How does it benefit the residents of Riverwoods? I understand how it
allows
benefits
as I understand it, Todd, it will allow for greater flexibility for those who are working in your community at Discover to be able to park. You're going to benefit the employees who not only may live but work in your community.
If I could, Todd, maybe I would just, not here to defend the applicant. I just want to provide sort of a village perspective on the zoning, because you've asked, why are we rezoning? One of the factors to understand is that Center for Holistic Health is in the R1 district, but it's a special use, and it's a medical clinic. It's an office. Center for Enriched Living is in R1. It's a special use because the village had such, simplified zoning for so long that for some of these early exceptions, we just made them special uses in the R1. And Center for Enriched Living is a type of social service facility, and it's almost a quasi-institutional use.
Right.
This parcel, of course, now is surrounded by non-residential uses. The Saunders Woods Corporate Center is also a non-residential use and was zoned to what we call office compatible. If you look at the comprehensive plan for the village, the land use plan that shows what we anticipate future development to be, this parcel is shown in the office compatible district because it was deemed to be similar to Center for Enriched Living, Center for Holistic Health, and Saunders Woods. So from the perspective the village has of the future use of this, the village has not foreseen the future use of this as staying residential. That would be inconsistent with the surrounding uses. And so when we lay out a comprehensive plan, we have to anticipate what the future uses are going to be. And it's not, you can't look at one parcel in the middle of everything else and say our plan is for that to stay residential forever. So in that sense, it would be hard for the village to look, if it's not Discover coming in, it could be a different user coming in saying, this is what we would like to do on the 3.66 acres. So from staff perspective, when you look at a plan like this that's going to make this use similar to the other uses, and with compatible landscaping and treatment, and also keeping all of the traffic off of the Saunders, really keep making it internal, there could be some advantages to that than having a different applicant come in and say, I have 3.66 acres, this is what I would like to do with the site. Then the village would have to react to that proposal in the context of what our comprehensive plan is showing today. So those are perspectives that the village has already, when it looked at this and prepared the comprehensive plan.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering. I guess it's pretty clear to me how this benefits Discover, but what's less clear to me is how it benefits those of us who live in Riverwoods. I mean, are we anticipating any kind of like increased property tax revenue? I mean, I guess there are probably a few people who like live around here who work at Discover, but and things might be a little bit more convenient for them. But I would imagine that the percentage of those people is minuscule. You know what I mean? And so I don't see that as a compelling argument for increasing parking. I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm not going to get a satisfying, to me anyway, answer to this, but I'm just looking for, I'm just asking, what's in it for us,
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
This is Lori Schneider. I have something that I wanted to add also. it sounds like, given the current state of the economy and not really knowing, where the market's going and, will there be more employees? Will there be less employees? It just doesn't seem to me that the timing for this is, that the timing is right for this now. So isn't this something that could be addressed later? If at some point they find that they need this space, and then, do an amendment or whatever it is that needs to be done to say, hey, we can't accommodate the number of people now, or our business is now growing. And so therefore, this is what we need to do on our campus. I mean, it's a pretty huge campus, and there's a lot of parking now. There's a lot of space, and there's also a lot of people that work remote. And maybe the remote will continue. I know a lot of businesses are going that way because now through COVID, they've seen that people can be productive and work from home, and they really don't even necessarily need the office space, or certainly don't need it 5 days a week. So I guess the timing just doesn't seem apropos to me right now.
Thank you. Daphne, maybe I should ask if you've had a chance to see whether there have been any comments emailed in at this point.
There are no emails.
Are there any other comments from visitors or questions? Jay?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Jay Schulten. I am with Capital Real Estate Partners. I'm the property manager for the Saunders Woods Corporate Center, one of the neighboring parcels. Our only comment on this is really with regard to the landscaping and just making sure that, and I think the plan kind of answers our questions, concerns, but if we look at, I don't know who's got control of the screen here, but can we look at the east side of the current parking structure at the north end of the campus?
Yeah, hang on one second. Let me see if I can switch over to that.
Actually, can you flip it around so we're looking at it from the southwest to the northeast? Yeah, this will work. So if you can run the cursor along that that northbound drive up by the retention pond between the drive and our property to the east. One of the concerns that we have is just the, yeah, that's exactly it. Those trees, I think, were installed as a barrier and kind of along the lines of what you're talking about here tonight with regard to enough landscaping to provide a barrier between, visually between some of the properties and to add more landscaping and control some light pollution and so on. Those trees specifically don't really do as much as I think was anticipated originally when our property was developed, which was long before my involvement in it. Granted, this particular area is one single row of trees, and they're also deciduous, so they're losing their trees half the year, and there's a lot of light that comes through to the office occupants and the tenants in our buildings. So as we look at that as an example, and we look at the parking structure option to the south, understanding that there's more distance between our property line crossing over the Center for Enriched Living property, much of which is forested. Those trees are obviously going to lose their leaves. So we just want to be considerate or put a request in that in the landscaping plan, if it makes sense from an ecological perspective, potentially put in some evergreen trees so that there is some blockage year round. And again, I think our main concern was enough landscaping there in general to kind of provide a barrier, not only for the light pollution, but also the just the structure itself, understanding that, you know, it is aesthetically matches the rest of the campus, and it's a commercial structure, yet it's still a parking garage nonetheless. So just wanted to ask the group to give that strong consideration, and it looks like a lot of the plans have already taken that into account, but just wanted to throw our 2 cents in there. So thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Are there any other comments or questions from visitors? Or any other questions from the Plan Commission?
I just wondered, Dan has provided materials addressing the standards in one of his submittals. If we go to close the hearing, just let the commissioners know that our next step would be sort of to discuss the proposal generally, whether we think it meets the standards. So if you have any questions about any of the standards or things like that you want to get on the record from the applicant, now would be the time before we close the hearing.
Yeah, so Bruce, this is Jay again, and thanks for that clarification. So can you talk a little bit more about what that landscaping, you know, can you talk some more detail about how thick that landscaping would be, or can we do some evergreens along that north end of the parking structure?
Interestingly, they were showing some evergreens, and the village ecologist is cautioning that it may not be appropriate for ecological reasons, because I think part of the area planted back there, if I understood one of his comments, is that they've done a controlled burn a couple of times. And so in order to maintain some of the native planting, you know, evergreens themselves may not be the right material in all cases. But I think that your concern is noted, and I think that when the village ecologist sits down to work with them on a plan, he knows that screening is important to our residents. We've always made that a very high priority, and he is going to balance that against the ecological concerns and other things that have to happen to make it successful. So we don't have a precise you know, planning density, but I'm pretty sure that the Plan Commission's recommendation is going to refer to the review and final sign off by the village ecologist.
So I was going to suggest that we will, yeah, I think it's going to be a collaborative effort. We'll work with the village's ecologist to look at the whole site, and including this particular area, Jay, to see how it works and the best practices.
Yeah, I would just like to also add, I think it was a great idea that Jay had about evergreens. Because when we look out our windows to the south, we will be looking, in the winter, we'll be looking at parking probably, parked cars. If there were evergreens there, that would be really nice. So I just want to, I heard what Bruce said, and it makes sense. Maybe there's a way to have both work. That's,
I think earlier there was some mention about having any recommendation conditioned upon working with the village ecologist or to his or her satisfaction. That's certainly a condition that we would not object to.
And I think to Bruce's point, I think we did have them, V3 did send over the list, and I think there was some included. Doesn't mean we have to take them out, I guess. We would probably just have to do something that would make sense for everybody. And we haven't yet to see what came back, Bruce. So once we get that again on our side, we can work together when we get closer to and finalizing a design. I'm sure that won't be an issue.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from anybody?
Yeah, this is Jay again. I had one more question. Is there any way that that barrier, that screened area that I first started to reference by example, is there any way as part of this project that maybe some additional trees could get planted in that area? Or not just, you know, I'm speaking somewhat selfishly here, but also, elsewhere around the campus that might benefit the other residents or the other neighbors around the property.
The Plan Commission we're advisory, so we can recommend a collaboration with the village ecologist. We can ask him to take a look at that particular area that you've highlighted. The landscaping plan around the perimeter of Discover was worked on in considerable detail years ago over a long period of time. And overall, the perimeter landscaping reflects, the collaborative effort of many. And it's actually quite unusual that the amount of native landscaping and other elements that the village thought of requiring 20 years ago. So there's always been a few areas, Saunders Woods had its own very complicated history with screening about 22 years ago. And we always, when we told residents that we would screen so you couldn't see it, we later regretted that because it turned out that it's not possible to screen something 100%. So we try and be realistic in balancing these things overall, but
Bruce, I'm sorry. This is the as yet unheard from Patrick Glenn, village engineer. I might suggest that if Discover's amenable to it, perhaps we could get the village ecologist out to look specifically at the area along the landscaping along the east side of the existing structure. That's a tricky little spot because there's not a lot of room between the drive adjacent to the parking structure, and then there's a big drainage swale immediately through there. And it's possible that some of the landscaping that was proposed and put in there back when they built that structure just didn't survive. So I think it would be a good idea just for Steve to walk it with the plan and just see if what was, what the landscaping was supposed to be is actually what's still there.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Hey Jay, real quick, this is Pete Kennedy at Discover. You can see my cursor still?
Yeah.
This is the building, that we're talking about, that
building is, and the other two to the south and the east, that all makes up this complex. So
okay, great. Good. Just wanted to make sure that, because there's a few in between, I wanted to make sure these are the ones we were talking about. Okay, great.
Yeah,
thanks.
and I think it's really that one you had your cursor on that is the most impacted by it. I mean, the northeast corner really is out of sight. The south property is, the two north buildings are owner occupied. The south building is an investment property that's actually being sold tomorrow.
Okay.
So I haven't heard from those tenants whether, if they haven't raised any issues with regard to this, but it has come up with a couple of the other property owners.
Okay, great. Thanks for the point of reference. Just wanted to clarify that was the main building of concern.
I appreciate it.
if that's the final comment, then Lori, it would be appropriate to close the hearing and move into discussion.
All right. Hearing no further questions, the hearing is now closed, and we'll discuss as a plan commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain any comments from plan commissioners about whether.
I mean, I think the first task is there a sense that the special use standards have been satisfied or not? Because the applicant is asking, for relief. So your role is to evaluate the request in the light of the standards that we have in the ordinance. So if that helps you, in terms of where you are in your discussion.
We all talked at once.
Well, okay, I mean, my observation in reading this stuff last time and again today when I went over it again, it's a big, extensive plan, but the way you've got it set up now, I think it's really covers everything. I really do. I felt when I started reading, I'm going, oh my God, this is gonna be so complicated. But I think you addressed all the issues, and they addressed all the issues, and I didn't say anything that was particularly controversial for us to deal with.
If I just may mention, this is Kerry. I think the thing where I'm a little bit confused, and I think it was a question that came from one of the people about how it really does benefit the resident. It definitely doesn't seem like it's benefiting the resident. It's for Discover. It's you guys to be benefit for you, obviously, because it's something you need. And then it makes me also think about it too. When you think about what's going on with COVID and everything and office space and all this other stuff, I guess a lot of people are also seeing, why would you need it now? And I understand we have to do this ahead of time. So I guess that's where I'm a little bit fuzzy on that. And I don't know if anyone can answer that, but that's kind of where I'm at on this.
I can offer a little perspective on that. I might have gone a little fast on the comprehensive plan. It is important for the Plan Commission especially to consider what we've already set forth in our comprehensive plan. And so some of you who might be newer on the Plan Commission, I don't know if you always keep your trusty copy of the comprehensive plan around with you, but the comprehensive plan map indicates that the future direction of this parcel is in the office compatible area. So Discover had met with us earlier on and said that they had really been experiencing a shortage of parking. In fact, they came to the village to expand the north parking garage. And I think that, and the village board approved that expansion already back, I think in July. When the opportunity came to acquire King's Kennel, they thought, okay, maybe we don't have to expand the parking deck that's already there, the north parking garage. Maybe we can do something that's simpler, like just live with surface parking for a while. Now, they are acquiring 3.6 acres, so as a matter of sort of corporate responsibility, before you acquire property, it's normal to try and figure out what the zoning is of it, because before you pay the money and buy it. So whether they have a need immediately or next month, I mean, in terms of long-term corporate planning, I would say it was certainly sensible of them to consider acquiring the property when it became available and to try and incorporate it in the campus. So, if this proposal wasn't before the board of the Plan Commission, the property owner, from what I understand, wanted to sell. The property was going to be on the market, was placed. So if not Discover, someone else would come in and say, okay, I see the comprehensive plan says office compatible. I see I'm surrounded by Discover, Saunderswood, Center for Holistic Health, and then we would be rightfully asked to consider what the prospective use would be. So I don't know when it's ever timely, but we're not going to be experts at figuring out the best timing for a private company to decide when and how it should anticipate its future needs.
Bruce, I think maybe you hit the benefit to the village, and that is that the deal with the landscaping and everything and the requirements has already been worked out with Discover. And if somebody else picks up the property, then it's reinventing the wheel. So, what's there now, I think, is attractive and fits in with the nature of the village. So right. I think extending that with the contiguous property is a good thing. The other thing is, it may be zoned residential, but I have a hard time thinking that somebody's going to put houses in there sandwiched in between the other stuff that's around it.
I'm new here, but I'll just make a comment. I think it's pretty evident that whoever would acquire this property would be a commercial enterprise of some kind. I think it's very unrealistic to expect residential development within that commercial space. I think so that's cut and dried. Then it comes down to who. And speaking again, like kind of to tailgate on what Carl said, as a benefit to the village, we have a known resident in Discover. There's some accountability there as somebody who's kind of already part of the village infrastructure as a resident of the village. And they're really realistically the only acquirer of the property that would not need a new ingress egress adding to the Saunders Road traffic. Any other business essentially would need that, but they have internal ingress egress. So that would be an advantage in terms of traffic flow and just kind of general impact to the village, in my opinion.
Right.
Okay, and I would like to add one thing, if I may. Over the years, Discover has been an incredibly wonderful asset to the village. When we didn't have a place to have meetings, they offered us space. They've been involved in some of the charitable stuff that went on in the past, way back when. They've been terrific neighbors, and they've always been honorable and honest to work with. And, you know, I worked with them during the first, when they did the first expansion. This is a known entity, and it is a good, positive known entity. And anybody else who comes in is an unknown entity. What can I say? I prefer to see it go to Discover than have it go out and become commercial with somebody else.
You know, I think I also, just from a perspective of myself, I live in Thorngate as well. And when that other gentleman asked about Thorngate, I was trying to figure out myself, well, how does it benefit? You know, that was where my head was thinking at the time. But I appreciate you sharing that. That helped. That definitely shed some light for me.
Any other comments, thoughts, questions? So do we go ahead and vote on it, Bruce, if we're ready, or?
If you are inclined to move to recommend approval of the rezoning and the amendment of the special use to the village board based on the material submitted, with probably a few conditions. One being that the applicant collaborate with the village ecologist on a landscaping plan that achieves the goals, the best goals we can in terms of screening and ecological value. I don't know if there are any other conditions that jump out at you that seem to be the major concern.
That would be my major concern, that we have approval by the village ecologist.
Second that, I agree.
And, you know, I think in the report to the, we prepare a report to the board, we would incorporate the approval of the motion that you have here, if you have one, and also recite in that you all concur, should be part of the motion really, that in the findings that it satisfies the special use standards that have been described in the staff memo.
Does our motion have to reflect whether we're talking about the larger or the smaller parking area?
No, because the proposal is for either use in the alternative.
Okay.
As presented.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are we
I have
ready
a question
to?
about that, though.
Okay.
When I read the material, they said a 4 or 5 story parking structure. I think those were the words that were used. When we talked about it here, they said, I believe the structure was 37 feet.
32.
32, which would be a 3 story, not a 4 or a 5
Yeah,
story.
they've been consistent that the height was under 35 feet. And I
Okay,
don't know
well,
how
think
many
that has to be in there, because it wasn't in what I got, what I read.
I don't know if Pat knows if how many parking levels you can get in 35 feet. It might be that you can get more than 3 parking levels.
I'd be comfortable with 35 feet.
Well, also you got to see, I haven't seen the plans, but they could go down and start the first level below ground and then come up. He said 35 feet or 32 feet above ground.
Yeah.
The level's there already.
Yeah.
So he might go down a level or two in the ground. That's a possibility. But he just said 32 feet above ground from where it's at now.
That's what I'd like to see specified.
Well, I think if you keep it to the 32 feet above ground, which is specified in his talk there, that would be the parameter that he just can't go above that.
That's fine, but I think I read otherwise in the written material.
Okay.
Is that a condition that we can put into the motion, Bruce?
Yes. Pat, Glenn, were you going to say something on this? I thought I saw you.
I was going to suggest that perhaps we let the applicant answer that question.
Yes, we'd be happy to hear from the applicant. Dan, do you want to comment on that, or John?
If you guys want to hold us to 32 feet as a condition, I think that's probably what we said. That is what we said, and I think that would probably be then an appropriate condition.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dan.
Dan, if I could, this is John Brown, if I could just jump in. I know I'm just a civil engineer, but the 32 feet was to the top deck, and there's certainly parapet walls and light poles. So I just don't want to, I want to make sure that's factored into.
32 feet to the top deck. I think we can,
That's fine.
think we
That's
can
fine.
work that out.
Okay, are we ready to entertain a motion? And if so,
Oh boy, somebody's got to put it together.
We got about an hour.
I actually took pretty good notes on what Bruce Huvard said. If you'd like me to read it and then as a springboard, would that help?
yes, thank you, Jerry.
Okay. To recommend approval of rezoning and the amendment of the special use to the village board based on materials submitted with the following conditions. 1, the applicant will collaborate with the village ecologist on a landscaping plan to achieve screening while maintaining the ecological value. The Plan Commission concurs with the findings that it will satisfy the special use standards. And 2, the parking structure would be no more than 32 feet above ground to the top deck.
God, you did that well.
That was
Thank you.
very good.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, okay.
Well, what's one of us? I will so move.
Can I just
We'll
add
use the
something
words that we
just as
just
a,
heard.
I'm sorry. Can I just add something as a technical thing?
Mm-hmm.
Not only the special use standards, but the rezoning standards.
Special use and rezoning standards.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that was the intent, but I just want to make sure it's clear.
Thank you, Dan.
So noted.
So Sherry, you have moved
I
I'll
have
second
moved.
and Steve has seconded. We should have a roll call vote on the motion.
Roll call. Mr. Dat,
Aye.
Ms. Graditor,
Aye.
Mr. Levin,
Aye.
Mr. Rothbart,
Aye.
Mr. Blaylock,
Aye.
Chairman Brightcoff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you. Well handled.
Okay,
Appreciate
well,
your time.
I got to tell you
Thank-
guys, well put together, well presented, well handled. And I
Yes,
do appreciate that because it makes my job easy.
absolutely.
Well, we
Absolutely.
appreciate the feedback and your time and attention. And I wish everyone a good holiday season, I guess. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce, do we know when this might be before the village board?
You don't know, I guess.
If not, we can talk about it later offline or something.
We have a pretty heavy agenda for December 15. We have to pass the tax levy, a bunch of abatement ordinances. Maybe then, or maybe it might go to the January meeting to have enough time to put together everything. I don't want people to feel rushed to review everything. So
Okay, understood. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night. All right, moving on. I have no comments, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn unless anybody else has anything.
May let Jay have a motion. The new guy have a motion.
There you go.
They can move to adjourn.
All right. I can get on board with that. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are done.
I need a roll call, actually.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that's right. I forgot. Roll call.
Ms. Graditor,
Hi.
Mr. Levin,
Aye.
Mr. Rothbart,
Aye.
Mr. Blaylock,
Aye.
Mr. Dat,
Aye.
Chairman Brightcoff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Great to see you.
Have a good evening and a good holiday.
Have a good holiday.
Welcome,
Stay
Jay.
well, everyone.
Yep.
Stay well.